Have you ever won an argument, only to feel like you somehow lost the relationship? You prove your point. You present the facts. You explain exactly why you're right. And technically, you win. But suddenly the room becomes quiet. Your partner withdraws. The warmth disappears. And what remains is distance. Here's the uncomfortable truth. Being right can sometimes destroy emotional safety. In fact, many relationships don't end because people are wrong. They end because someone needed to be right more than they needed to be connected. In this video, we'll explore why does the brain crave being right, why winning arguments feels good, but damages trust, and the powerful psychological shift that protects relationships. Because sometimes, the real victory isn't winning the argument. It's protecting the connection. Before we continue, if you're interested in understanding the psychology behind relationships, emotions, and human behavior, make sure to subscribe to Science Simplified. Because every week we break down powerful psychological insights that can help you build healthier relationships and a stronger mindset.
Most people believe arguments are about facts. But psychologically, arguments are rarely about facts. They are about identity and emotional validation. When someone disagrees with us, our brain doesn't simply hear a different opinion. Instead, it interprets it as a challenge, a threat, or even disrespect. This activates the brain's defensive response system. Suddenly, the conversation stops being about solving a problem and becomes about protecting the ego. And once the ego is involved, winning becomes the priority. You gather evidence. You recall past events. You raise your voice. Not because you're trying to hurt the other person, but because your brain is trying to defend your sense of self. The problem: relationships don't operate on the rule of winning and losing. They operate on the rule of emotional safety. And emotional safety disappears the moment someone feels like they are being defeated.
There's also a powerful neurological reason why winning arguments feels satisfying. When you prove your point, your brain releases dopamine, the same chemical involved in winning a game, receiving praise, or achieving a goal. In other words, your brain treats being right like a victory. But there's a catch. While your brain experiences a reward, the other person's brain experiences threat and rejection. They may feel unheard, embarrassed, invalidated, or emotionally unsafe. And when someone feels unsafe, their brain stops collaborating. Instead, they shift into defense mode, which means they stop listening and start protecting themselves. This is why arguments often escalate. Because both people are trying to win instead of trying to understand.
In psychology, there's a concept called relationship safety. It means feeling safe to express thoughts, share feelings, admit mistakes, and be vulnerable, without fear of attack or humiliation. Healthy relationships protect this safety. But when arguments become battles for correctness, something subtle begins to change. The relationship slowly becomes a place where people feel they must defend themselves. Instead of openness, there's caution. Instead of vulnerability, there's silence. And over time, people stop sharing their real thoughts. Not because they don't care, but because they don't want to be proven wrong again. This is why some couples stop communicating. Not because they have nothing to say, but because speaking feels emotionally risky.
Have you ever noticed what happens during arguments? People start behaving like lawyers. They collect evidence. They reference past situations. They build logical cases. You always do this. Last time you said, that's not what happened. But here's the psychological trap. When conversations turn into courtrooms, relationships turn into competitions. And in competitions, someone must lose. But when your partner loses, the relationship loses. Because the goal of a relationship is not to determine who is correct. The goal is to understand each other. Unfortunately, when people feel attacked, they don't listen to understand. They listen to counterattack.
Defensiveness is one of the biggest predictors of relationship breakdown. Because defensiveness sends a hidden message. It says, I care more about being right than understanding your experience. Even if that isn't your intention. When someone feels their emotions are dismissed, their brain begins to withdraw. And once emotional withdrawal begins, connection slowly fades. Many relationships do not collapse suddenly. They slowly erode through hundreds of small arguments where someone needed to be right.
So what is the alternative? The solution isn't ignoring problems. It's changing the goal of the conversation. Instead of asking, how do I prove my point? Ask, how do I understand their experience? This small shift changes everything. Because understanding doesn't require agreement. You can still have different opinions. But the moment someone feels heard, their brain relaxes. Defenses drop. And suddenly, real conversation becomes possible. One simple sentence can transform arguments. I may see it differently, but I want to understand how you feel. That sentence protects emotional safety. And emotional safety protects relationships.
Next time you feel the urge to prove you're right, try this 3-step pause. Step 1. Notice the urge to win. Step 2. Ask one curious question. Step 3. Reflect what the other person said. For example, so what you're saying is that you felt ignored? This technique does something powerful. It shows the other person that their feelings matter. And when people feel respected, they become far more open to hearing your perspective.
Being right may win the argument, but emotional safety wins the relationship. And the strongest relationships aren't built on perfect agreement. They are built on mutual understanding. Because at the end of the day, people don't remember who won the argument. They remember how safe they felt with you. So the next time you're about to prove you're right, pause and ask yourself one simple question. Is winning this argument worth losing the connection? If you enjoy learning the psychology behind human behavior, subscribe to Science Simplified. Because understanding the mind is the first step to transforming your relationships.